You're listening to WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM, the pride of the South Side. I'm Rhea.
I'm Leia.
And today we have a special guest with us.
I'm Madalena.
And this is Finders Keepers, 11 a.m. CST every Wednesday. We're a musical interview show where we bring in a new guest every single week, and we ask them why they like the songs, why they keep them around in their life, and try to learn more about each person through their music. Madalena, what is the first song you have for us today?
So the first song I have is Raw Sugar by Metric. Should I talk a little bit about how I found it? Okay. So my parents played a lot of different songs for me growing up, and definitely a lot of Metric. Like a lot of the more popular songs, I feel like people probably know at least some Metric songs, like what is it, like Help, I'm a Ghost or whatever. And specifically there was one song that they used to play called Grow Up and Blow Away, which I forgot about for a really long time, and then randomly I was thinking about it kind of recently, what's that one song that goes has a kid at the beginning that goes grow up and blow away, and then I ended up finding it and then listening to the whole album and finding a song I liked even more on it called Raw Sugar. And lately I've just been listening to it as I walk to class. It's just so fun to walk to because of the beats and stuff, and yeah, I think it's just a really good kind of fall song.
I'm super excited. Oh my god, our first fall song!
Yay!
Amazing.
So exciting.
All right, this is Raw Sugar by Metric.
No one said a word. Don't you like it on the slide? Don't you like it till it hurts? Have I been on your mind? What's a voice without a sound? Something in your head you've been fighting all along. So good, we'll never get away. And even if we could, we just play the tambourine around an open flame, oversleep and burn to be back in the game. 'Cause summer never comes, nowhere near high noon, and winter never comes, nor the harvest moon. Sort of wonder why I missed a kiss for you. 'Cause summer never comes, winter never comes, summer never comes, winter
This is John Denver speaking for the National Arbor Day Foundation. The land means everything to our way of life. Year after year, America's farmers till the soil, bringing new life from out of the ground. We feed the nation and the world because the land is so productive. But will we be as bountiful for future generations? You know, by planting conservation trees, you can protect the land in so many ways. Field windbreaks slow the wind, holding down the topsoil. Filter strips stop erosion along riverbanks and help keep the water clean. And conservation trees bring beauty and wildlife close by. Plant conservation trees for your farm, family, and future. For your free booklet, write Conservation Trees, the National Arbor Day Foundation, Nebraska City, Nebraska.
Plant a tree today for all the world to share.
Welcome back. You're listening to WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM, the pride of the South Side. I'm Leah.
I'm Ria, and our special guest today is
Madalena.
All right, and Madalena just played Raw Sugar by Metric. I loved that song, and it was my first time hearing it. I think it might have also been Leia's.
It was my first time hearing it.
And you told us that your parents are the ones that introduced you to Metric, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of songs that they'd play, and it was a lot of, 2000s kind of electronic alt music, you know? I think they were determined from the very beginning that my sister and I would not be like other girls. And so I think a lot of my music taste is definitely influenced by the songs I listened to when I was a kid that my parents played a lot in the car, which is also why I chose, this song today. Just, fall makes me nostalgic. Yeah. It's kind of a nostalgic song. And I still like it today, you know, obviously. So even though it's similar to stuff I was listening to a lot as a kid. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is this song sort of, I mean, you say that you use it to walk to class.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell why. The rhythm is,
mm-hmm.
the beat is just so, infectious. But does it serve a sort of purpose for you on your walk? Is it a pick-me-up? Is it, a calm down? What does this do for you when you're walking to class?
Recently, it's just been kind of a marching onward, you know, kind of anthem. Especially, it's not necessarily a happy song, especially with the lyrics and stuff. Especially moving from a more rural area into kind of a bigger city, and the lyrics being summer never comes, winter never comes, none of the seasons ever come because you're living in a city. I don't want to live in a high rise where I have to call home. You know, it's not, I love being in Chicago, don't get me wrong, but I just think it's kind of a good, you know, I'm marching on, I'm just kind of going through, so it helps kind of keep me going when I have to wake up for my 8:30 a.m. Calc 2 class, and I really don't want to go.
Yeah. Wait, don't want to live in a high-rise and call it home is a crazy line. I feel like me and Leah are very, privileged to have you here because you're a first year at the start of your time at U Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I think that, obviously this is, everyone says there's a first time for everything, but you're going through, the first time of something so quickly, and with so many other people on this campus. Just a little check-in. How's your time at U Chicago so far?
I'm really enjoying it. It's just so much new stuff, and yet surprisingly a lot of the same stuff, you know? Still, my high school used Canvas, and so college using Canvas, I was like, oh my god, I'm literally never gonna escape this.
Yeah, I felt that way too.
It's definitely been different, having classes where everyone wanted to, be in class, pretty much, to a certain degree, you know? My Hume classes, everyone's yapping as much as I am. I'm not the only one, talking in class discussions and stuff. Yeah, it's really nice to have, so many students who are really interested in being engaged with the curriculum and stuff. Yeah. Even if everyone, complains about having to go to class and everything, everyone here is definitely a huge nerd who still likes to talk about the subjects that they're learning about. And that's been really, really cool. And in general, it's been really great having such, experienced professors and stuff teach me too. Like, they're just so knowledgeable, and it's like kind of intimidating, but it's so cool to be around so much knowledge. What is it? My dorm, BJ, hosted
Windorm.
Best.
Professor last night for like a fireside chat who's, I forget his name, but he's like does quantum computing and stuff.
Oh my
God. Which is the field I'm like interested in. So that was
cool.
like super cool and kind of like awe-inspiring.
Are you a aspiring major?
I'm a physics major actually.
Cool.
Yeah. And so it was like really kind of awe-inspiring to be able to like listen to someone who like has been working with the stuff I like dream to work with one day for so long and whatnot. So just, I'm wowed by the resources here, and just excited to see how things progress as the year goes. Not excited for all of my time to be taken up by all the things I want to do, because all of the extracurriculars here are also so cool.
Yeah.
No, it's I just remember feeling so overwhelmed, but like in a good way. I didn't even know that was possible, like when I first came here.
New
but
feeling.
like it's like, I don't know, just like enjoy it. Like I don't know.
I think so too. Also,
soak it all in.
We have to always plug our past guests. You should join the Society of Women in Physics, which our dear friend Mira runs.
I was thinking about applying to be a first year rep for that, so I will work on that.
You should.
You
Definitely
should tell her that you know us.
Okay.
No, that first of all, great that you're in BJ. I feel like
that's a great place to start off.
Seriously. And also, I feel like sometimes I ask people about their majors because I think it relates. I think I want it to relate to the music that they're listening to, and so I want to ask, like, is there a pipeline, do you think, between electronic alt and STEM?
I mean, honestly, the way I'd more think about it is, like, I feel like, especially, like, physics majors and stuff, because it's not something that's usually, like, pre-med or something, physics majors are, like, want to be different and quirky really bad.
Right.
So
Okay.
I feel like, you know, that would probably lead to a lot of them being like, oh, well, here's this band you've probably never heard of, like... just something a little different, you know, it's a little out there.
Right.
So I feel like maybe that's part of it. For me, I don't know, electronic, it was just something I was raised with, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's kind of how I
Were your
got
parents
into it.
physics majors?
No, my dad was a software engineer. He taught himself, actually.
Wow.
And then my mom bounced around a lot of, like, food service jobs, as well as becoming a, like, elementary school teacher. And now both my parents own a diner.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you grow up like in the diner, or was that sort of more recent?
That's more of a recent thing, which the bad news here is we took it over in late 2019. So time frame wise, really bad. So my advice to anyone who thinks it sounds cool to own a diner is don't. There are so many costs. You will never make a profit. It's a mess, but it's provided me with like so many interesting experiences, and honestly with music too, because the chefs in the back are always listening to something different than what is playing in the front. And that then our dishwasher is playing different music, and our prep cook is playing different music, and it's just really fun to get to hear what different employees will play as they're working. There's one cook who really likes, in my opinion, really bad, like, rap songs that definitely are not on the family-friendly audience that we're going for. Then there's one time I went in the back and they were playing Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl, and it's just a bunch of, like, gruff old men in the back,
song.
and I'm like, who is putting this on? But, yeah, it's really fun to... I don't know, get to experience so many different wild personalities. I feel like you encounter a lot of different people in food service. And
did you work at the diner?
Yes, I hostessed and served like once properly. But yeah, I was in there a lot to just kind of
big graduation.
Help out. So I know a lot of the ins and outs of it, and I'd hear a lot about it, obviously, from my parents. I help out with the books sometimes, or like organizing receipts, things like that. So just, yeah, lots of cool, interesting experiences there.
Good.
Yeah. No, I'm wondering about like whether your music taste has like diverged from that electronic sphere at all. Like, do you listen to any like acoustic things or like anything that, or is it generally pretty like upbeat and like, yeah, like how far has it gone?
So it's definitely not homogenous at all.
Totally.
Originally, I was going to choose a song that I think would have been a huge downer for this show.
We've had serious downers.
Oh yeah, we've had people cry. We've had people...
But yeah, my taste has definitely diverged along the path. Early middle school, I was definitely like in my Lana Del Rey, Marina and the Diamonds,
Right.
Lorde
Love.
era. And then it kind of shifted into more like trying to, I don't know, explore more niche stuff. And so as far as like acoustic and stuff goes, because I wanted to mention this specifically, yes, I love acoustic, like stripped back songs. Adrienne Lenker, love her.
Oh my God.
Love her music so much.
I'm like the biggest fan of her.
So yeah, I would say mostly the thing that stuck with me most is I can't do like boring vocals. Like the vocalist has to be
yeah.
unique for me.
I
That's probably like
noticed
my
that.
biggest thing.
This song's vocals rock.
Yeah.
Genuinely, they are so awesome. The first thing I wrote down was killer vocals, funk groove.
Yeah, I love how like she enunciates all the words and stuff, and that's what I like really love about this album too, is just like the singer's voice and how like crisp it sounds. But yeah, it's definitely, vocals are a huge thing for me. That's why, like, no disrespect to Taylor Swift, but I'm not a huge fan of her just because like the vocals aren't unique enough necessarily for me to be able to like really get invested into it, I guess.
Yeah. No, unique is a good word because like I feel similarly. Like there has to be something, whether they're like untraditional or like really strong, like almost like musical theater-y. Like I'm cool with both. It just has to stand out in some ways. And I like that you say untraditional in that sense.
I think that does make a lot of sense. Also because, like, Taylor Swift set the stage, you know? Like, people copied her.
Yeah.
And she became this mainstream sound, and so, like, there's a reason it's called alternative.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your next song?
Sure. So this one, although I said I love unique vocals, I honestly could not tell you what any of the lyrics are on this next song
so fair.
because the vocals are kind of used just as like a secondary instrument on it, which
Love
I
when
think
that
is really neat.
happens.
Yeah. This one is also, for this like session, I guess I wanted to just kind of go for a nostalgia-based theme. So this is another one that my parents and my family as a whole listen to a lot. Specifically, me and my sister really love this song because the music video for it is crazy. So there's this animator called Felix Colgrave, and if you search him up on YouTube, he's got a lot of popular animations. One that people might have seen is Double King. It got kind of popular on YouTube back in the day.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So like really trippy animation, and he did the music video for this upcoming song, and so my sister and I would obsessively watch it. I cannot think of this song without the visuals, and I think it also, because I like watched it so much and the music lined up with the visuals, I think it influenced how I visualize songs in my head a lot. So that's why I think it's really
That's
interesting.
super interesting.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to dive in. So this is, what's the title again?
Source by Fever the Ghost.
Source by Fever the Ghost.
handbag, lipstick, handbag, lipstick, handbag, lipstick, handbag.
You're listening to WHPK, Chicago 88.5 FM, the pride of the South Side. I'm Leia.
I'm Rhea, and today on Finders Keepers we have
Madalena.
And we just listened to Source by Fever the Ghost. Literally epic song. I wish we accompanied it. I wish we could live stream the animation, because now I'm really intrigued to see what that
Definitely
looks
check
like.
it out.
We can link it in our YouTube.
We'll link it in our YouTube. Wow. Wait, first of all, were those last words lipstick handbag?
I have no clue. So this is I don't think that bit was included on the music video where they have the animation. I'm pretty sure it's probably just a transition to the next song on the album. So I don't know.
Do you listen to the album?
Not. I haven't listened to the full album, honestly. This is the only song I know by this artist.
Okay. Fair. And you said that your family listens to it. Why is it a family affair?
I don't know. So the thing is, and I mean, shout out to them for it, but my parents were very much like, okay, here's some classic things you need to know. They pretty much had my cultural education of okay, so here's the movies that you have to watch. I don't care if you like them. And often my dad would just play, or my mom as well would play songs while they were cooking and stuff. And so, or if a new song came out that they really liked, especially my dad, would sit us down in front of the computer and be like, okay, we're listening to this. Yeah. I specifically remember it with Green Light by Lorde. When that came out, my dad was like, okay, here's a song, you're gonna listen to it, what do you think?
That's awesome.
You did get your own music education.
Yeah.
And it's a good one, too. I'm impressed. Shout out to your parents.
Yeah. So it was just one of those songs that my parents were like, oh, come look at this cool music video song, whatever. I don't know how they found it. My dad is on Reddit a lot. Maybe he found it from there. Okay. But yeah, it was just one of those things that's okay, watch it together, and then we'd listen to it together as a family. It would be one of the songs that we'd put on while cooking. My sister and I would usually be waiting in the living room for dinner to get ready, and then there would be songs playing. Yeah. We could put on our own songs, and my parents would be like, okay, this is cool, or no, we're gonna put on this. Yeah. My mom really loves the B-52s, so listen to a fair amount of that. My dad listens all over the place. He loves The Clash. Julian Casablancas, anything he does. There was one Daft Punk song with him on it that he loved to play. Really all over the place kind of music. And so this one was one that just stuck out because it's very unique. I haven't really listened to a lot of other songs that sound like this, even though I agree. There's lots of electronic music, but this is a very specific thing. It always kind of if I'm not listening to it with the music video, it reminds me of something you'd hear in the background of a super hipster coffee cafe.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so right. There's this there's this coffee shop in Logan Square in Chicago called New Wave, and they would definitely play this song.
What is the music video like?
It's a whole little storyline. So this little hobbitish kind of guy goes out of his house, and he has to go inside a hill with his little dragon friend, and in the middle of the hill there's a light bulb. He turns it on, all the hills start blasting light out of their faces, and then the earth turns into a disco ball, and the sun and moon dance, and then the disco ball falls into another planet, and then there's little aliens and they dance, and then at the end where you hear kind of that reversing sounds, everything goes in reverse order because the little guy turns off the light switch, and then it just is kind of hinted at that that's his daily thing to do is he goes and does that whole sequence, and then it repeats again.
That is, I was gonna say, it really does not sound like anything I know. I was trying to I was trying to pinpoint something and about what it sounds like, and I wrote down Owl City X Yacht Rock X Mother.
Yeah.
Mother, yeah.
And I was gonna ask you, when did you first start listening to this song? And it was released in 2014. Was this when it came out, your dad was like on the pulse, or your mom was on the pulse, and they showed it to you?
I think it was probably that, honestly, because I remember listening to it in elementary school back when I was still in Catholic school.
Oh, wow.
And I remember also, this is also why it sticks out so much in my memory, is I loved it so much that I would show it to all my friends whenever they drove in the car with me.
It's a good driving song. I wrote that down.
And they'd always be like, what is this music video? This is so weird. And so I was always like, a little bit embarrassed by it, but at that point, when I was like younger, I didn't really understand that they thought it was like weird negative. I thought it was just like weird different.
Weird neutral.
Yeah, weird neutral. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I was probably in like first or second grade. So yeah, probably like right
to be
when it
exposed to this.
That's
came.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, a big shout out to my parents for shadow writing my picks for this episode, pretty much.
Your voice kind of went hesitant when you said Catholic school.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on that?
It was just like, which funnily enough, neither of my parents are religious either.
Oh.
They were both raised Catholic, I believe, and then were not really religious as they got older.
Fair.
Yeah. And so just kind of funny that I got placed into a Catholic school. It was mostly because it was a private school in the area, and my parents thought it would give me a better education than being in public school. And then they figured out that the money was pretty much wasted because my sister and I were watching like Disney movies half the time in our classes and not really doing much. And then having to go to mass too. And so, yeah, it was a time. I am so grateful that my parents took me out of that and put me into public school, because I think public school is such an important experience for people to go through, because having such small classes that I literally like knew every single person in the school, you know, and everything, like, I don't know. I liked the bigness of being in a public, like, middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And like, just in general, you meet more people and like learn how to deal with issues better. And then also I didn't have to go to mass every other Friday. So
That's
big
a
bonus.
plus.
Yeah.
I feel like you're probably super skilled with learning how to deal with a diverse amount of people, especially considering your job as a hostess at a diner.
Oh yeah.
I've also been a hostess before, and like you really, like, you have to learn to deal with everyone.
Yeah, so a little bit of context on where this diner is as well. I'm in a conservative part of Oregon. If people are not familiar, sometimes people like to call Oregon Oregon. There's bumper stickers of that with like a little rifle underneath and stuff.
familiar.
Yeah.
I low-key didn't know that.
It's kind of funny. So I come from Oregon,
Not Portland.
country. Yeah, not Portland.
Track City.
And yeah, so a lot of the clientele we get some kind of out there conspiracy theorists sometimes. I overheard one table, like just a little snippet talking about, oh yeah, Barack Obama, what's that thing? And trying to make a triangle with their hands, the Illuminati.
Oh, God.
Classic.
Like, over Sunday brunch, you know, and I'm like, I don't know the context of this conversation, but I truly don't know how the Illuminati and Barack Obama got brought up in like 2023 on a Sunday brunch.
Yeah, that's kind of late for the
Yeah.
Illuminati.
Yeah, I feel like that's very like 2010s.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
conspiracy theory video, like Shane Dawson.
Yeah,
my
exactly.
But without the Barack Obama part.
Yeah.
No, how'd you find out about U Chicago? I'm so curious.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was entirely convinced by their mail.
Oh my
They
God.
do such a good job with the mail.
They get you. That's how
Yeah.
I
they
have
get
to
you.
tell them that.
That's what I wrote my Why You Chicago essay on, is I was like, yes! Well, because also, I wrote my essays really late. I procrastinated on them. I wrote them all in one night on the extended regular deadline.
In true U Chicago fashion.
No, good.
Yes.
Good on you.
And I don't know, I took them very unserious, which I think maybe they enjoyed, because the, like, quirky part of the essay, I wrote about how I was lazy and I like playing video games sometimes instead of like going and doing work 24/7, and that
Right.
I still think that's valuable, you know? I don't have to be on that grind set.
Sure.
I talked about like people I saw on TikTok, you know, like being busy all the time and
Yeah.
whatnot, and I was like, yeah, no, not for me. I'm lazy. And then in my YU Chicago, I was like, your guys' mail really convinced me. I thought it was pretty good, but mostly it was like U Chicago seemed to balance like a lot of different interests simultaneously rather than wanting to just strictly point you towards the
Totally.
major. Like the core was a big influence in my decision because I got into both of my top schools. So and got the same amount of financial aid from both of them. So it was between Yale and here, and I chose here because also in my opinion, the people here are better. I visited both schools, and the people at Yale were talking about, oh yeah, my school's a feeder school for like Georgetown and stuff, and I got into Stanford and MIT and like rattling off colleges, and it felt like a very catty kind of niceness. Like people were a little bit more outgoing. In general, like more likely to introduce themselves to me instead of kind of awkwardly standing there in a line. But yeah, I like the people here because I had like such great conversations even on just like the admitted student open house about like tons of nerdy different topics and stuff, and people seemed really passionate here. And also I think Chicago is a much better area to be in personally
Than
than Connecticut.
Yeah, New Haven is kind of just Yale.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
vibe I got. So
And like
yeah.
people going into the city.
I'm
Yeah,
here
no,
now, and I'm
good-
very
good for
happy with my
you.
choice.
Yeah, we're glad you're here.
We're so
too.
glad you're here.
W for U Chicago.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense that you're like a video game.
Yeah.
Like with the
Yeah.
music, I think like I literally wrote down like this is all music that would be in like a really fun video game.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely. I
super
play
pretty.
a ton of video games, and that definitely influences my taste in music. I also thought about choosing a video game soundtrack song for this, because a lot of the one in particular, Katamari Damacy, it's a really weird little game where you roll up a ball on Earth, and you just roll up stuff, and you get bigger and bigger, and then eventually you roll up like everything. You're rolling up buildings. You're rolling up
Wait, I think I've
continents.
heard of that.
Yeah, and then it all gets turned into a star. And the songs in it are so fun and lighthearted and very beat boop, like electronic, but you can like listen to them on their own and they're pretty great. But yeah, so the interest in electronic music also definitely comes from playing a lot of video games as a kid. That was also something I did with my family a lot. We all sit around the Wii
Yeah.
or the PlayStation 2 and
Aw.
play like Wii Sports Resort,
Yes!
Classic.
I'd watch my parents play Zelda Skyward Sword.
Oh my god.
I played Ratchet and Clank, like lots of different video games. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my. Jeez. Okay. The thing is that I have a special connection to video game music, which is that I use it to study. I was specific. Actually, I don't. People maybe would kill me if I called this like. I'm not a gamer, but like. I exclusively listen to Coconut Mall for 2 quarters to do my reading here.
It's like your number one song.
And because I use it to do my reading, has been my number one song for 2 years, even though I haven't listened to it in a really long time, which is kind of embarrassing. But no, I just think that electronic music at the RSO Fair, I saw a club that is about game music production, and I was like, when I was looking at music production classes to take at U Chicago, the only one they have is game music production, which is super cool and also so important. Like, I think that I could never play games without music in them. And they just need to have like they have to have background music if they're on my laptop or if I'm playing them, because they make the experience so much.
Yeah, it changes like the entire way you like perceive like the scene. Like scary games would not be scary without like the music a lot of the times. Yeah, I am a huge fan of video game soundtracks, and yeah, I definitely listen to them a lot while I study too.
Yeah. What game specifically?
So I really like the Katamari Damacy
Yeah,
soundtrack, and then also any Zelda songs I think are always really good because they're very peaceful.
You
a lot of
graduated from
times.
watching your parents play.
Yeah.
Actually play.
Yeah. And there's this one game that I really, really like. I wrote my Common App essay on it, Disco Elysium. It has a really cool soundtrack. And it's kind of melancholy. There's lots of like horns and stuff. And so I like to listen to that one a lot because it's just very ambient music, not like lyrics or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's also definitely one that I listen to a fair amount.
Yeah, I feel like I see a lot of what you're saying in the music we've just listened to today, but I really want to ask you about this other side to your music taste, because you mentioned Adrienne Lenker and like actually liking some more acoustic things.
Yeah.
Is that very much that unique vocal like draw, or is it something else?
It's usually the unique vocal draw for me, but also I am a sucker for like string instruments.
Okay.
I have played viola for quite a while.
Oh, cool.
And so any orchestral arrangements or string instruments are like an automatic, oh my gosh, I love this song.
Yeah.
So unique vocals and then like layered instrumentals are always going to be like a fave from me. Which is why I really like Bjork, for instance. Because she's got the unique vocals, she's got the really heavy, dense instrumentation in some of her songs, you know, she's got the electronic in some. So, yeah. And Adrienne Lenker specifically, it is mostly her voice. I love her voice and, like, the lyrics she writes and everything, and it's so, like, moving. You know, even if you're not really focusing on the words, it just, like, evokes such specific emotions.
Agreed. No, I was going to ask about, like, your relationship to lyrics, because, I mean, in this song and the other song, I think it's a lot more, like, drenched in nostalgia than, like, actual lyrics. But do you find that it's, like, music that first draws you into a song and then you sort of, I don't know, read a lyric sheet and that keeps you there, or is it something else?
I would say it depends. So... usually it's probably that I like the sound of the song and then I dive into the lyrics, but sometimes it's the lyrics that really draw me in, even if it's a sound that I typically wouldn't like. And, or if I think it doesn't sound like entirely interesting at first. I would say that it was definitely lyrics first with Ethel Cain, for instance.
Oh, wow.
I at first thought that she didn't sound that, like, interesting, I guess, sonically, but then getting more into the lyrics and stuff, I was like, this is such a cool, like, storyline that she's, like, making in the Preacher's Daughter album and everything, so
Good
that helped
album.
me really, like, get invested into the album. Mitski was also one that's, like, the lyrics were a big draw for me, and then it's more secondarily the sound in the way she sings it. Because I think she's just got, like, really nice lyrics, you know? And also her voice is very clear and understandable in all of her songs, so it makes it hard to miss the lyrics, I'd say.
I always appreciate people whose voice becomes, like, more of an instrument in their song than a voice, which I think, like, Mitski and Bjork both do. I also... This is a debate I've been thinking about for a while, and most recently because, like, I don't know, I've been thinking about, like, how musicality for musicians comes up in people's music taste and also the music that they like to listen to. Do you think that playing viola and, like, having background and, like, having a musical background that is maybe more technical has affected your taste?
Absolutely. I'd say I like dissonance a lot now, that I've had, like, more technical musical education, and, like, I'm a really big fan of, like, really weird chords that, like, kind of linger uncomfortably before resolving, I guess.
Yeah.
And definitely I've liked jazz more the more I've, like, gotten into music stuff because I appreciate it more.
That is so interesting.
From, like, a technical standpoint and stuff. But yeah, I'd say I like probably what some people would consider objectively worse sounding music the more I've gotten into music, because I admire, I admire the complexity of, like, how to make a still cohesive song out of what is, like, maybe unpleasant chords, or how that can be used to evoke a feeling that isn't just, like, oh, feeling good from a song, you know, or just feeling sad, but like instead, can you make someone feel uncomfortable with a song just by using certain notes or lingering on a certain like part of the song or looping things or distorting it? And so that's something I find really interesting now, is kind of like music as an art form and how to really push the boundaries of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's so true. I like really resonate with that. I also think it's interesting because in both of these songs, I think I feel like I'm definitely, or before we started the show, I confidently would say like, oh, I definitely listen to the lyrics first. Like I'm definitely like Ria's a vocals person, I'm a lyrics person, but this show has totally changed that. And I think with these songs, I was just like so like, I don't know, shocked and like excited by what was going on. Each second is very different, and there's like a lot of tension, and they like let go of that. So I'm into this like nonsensicalness that you're talking about. And especially, I mean, I'm looking at these lyrics right now and nothing makes sense.
Okay.
And I kind of love that.
Close the heavy lid tightly and turn away from your energy conversion box. Run, ditto, moon.
Like, it's not supposed to make any sense. And that's what's fun about it. And I think that, like, letting lyrics kind of be, like, the least important thing is something really interesting.
Yeah. Also, I think just coming from... I often listen to music also because, like, when I listen to it, I do appreciate those maybe a little bit uglier things.
Yeah.
Because I think that it forces you to think about the musician's intentionality. And, like, it forces you to be like, they know that doesn't sound good. So, like, why would they still put it in a song? So that definitely is a consideration. I think that also I've kind of crowdsourced opinions from a lot of musicians. Also, I just want to talk about this because WHPK has so many jazz DJs. But jazz, it's so interesting that you like it from a technical standpoint, because I think that there's been a lot of conversation nowadays that jazz is, I mean, not nowadays, but forever kind of, that jazz is this like untouchable music form, you know, like it's the classic, it's technically difficult, it's hard, and not everyone can understand it. But at the same time, like, coming to Chicago and like me and Leia like went to New Orleans once, and like that was like the standard music, like that it's the popular music actually. And so it's always interesting to hear how people react to jazz, because for some people it is the music that you need to know nothing about to enjoy, and for other people it's the one that you need to know a lot about to enjoy, and for younger people it's usually the one that you need to know a lot more about. And so I'm wondering, like, what was your first exposure to jazz music, and has it changed over, like you said, as a musician your opinion has changed on it, but like, do you still listen to jazz?
I don't know what technically classifies things as like jazz, but I'd say I definitely listen to some like jazzier sounding things, I guess. What is it? Black Country New Road, Ants from Up There album definitely has a lot of jazz elements in it that I really enjoy, especially because I think specifically that album has a lot of softer kind of sounds in it with the jazz, which I really appreciate. I think I also didn't really get into jazz until later because I favored like the sound of string instruments and stuff so heavily, and you can get such like nice soft delicate sounds out of string instruments that is missing in most of, I'd say, like jazz music, where it's a lot of brass and it's a lot of like other woodwinds and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
I'd say probably like some of my first exposure to jazz was through playing music as well, like listening to different ensembles and stuff, and mostly through hearing other like musicians play it and stuff. I don't think, although my parents did very well at educating me in a lot of music, jazz was not one that was really like directly like, okay, we're listening to this jazz song. So it was also one that just took me like longer to kind of find and whatnot.
On
so
your own, right?
Yeah. No, I do feel like it's difficult to like get into as a genre, especially because people either dismiss it as like Oh, it's like boring, which I never understood personally. I don't, but I think I think you're gonna find like in Chicago, there's such a strong music history here, and like you're gonna get to explore that in new ways and go out to hear jazz, etc.
I could hear the jazz festival from my window in PJ, so that was really cool. I think I heard like a harp at some point, which was like
gorgeous.
so
I heard that
cool
said
to
it was
hear.
amazing.
Yeah.
String instrument.
Yep, I am a sucker for it. And then also I went to the Rockefeller Chapel like 11 to 12, a trumpet solo.
Me too. I missed it.
That was really, really cool. I would say that that's definitely like very recently changed my opinion of jazz and stuff.
Wow.
Because it was also, I appreciated it so much from like a technical standpoint of like the things he was doing with that instrument. I was like, this is stuff that would be hard to do on a string instrument. Like he was playing like chords with himself, which on a like trumpet, that's like so hard to do. He was using like the echo of the chapel to like keep the note sustained and then play like another note on top of it. And there is like
Genius.
Yes, and there was so much cool like dissonance and just like a lot of like different technical things that he made the instrument make sounds I did not know a trumpet could make, and I really, really appreciated that. And it was also just such a cool atmosphere to be in. They dimmed the lights so you couldn't see him like at all, so it was really like forcing you to focus in on just the sound and the music. Yeah.
Can I ask, did you play viola in an orchestral setting, or was it mostly like private practice?
It was school orchestra.
Okay.
For the most part, and then for 1 year I was part of a youth symphony, but that was like really competitive feeling and I didn't like how it was.
Yeah.
And also a pretty big time commitment, so I did not end up continuing with that for my senior year.
Yeah.
And then now it's more of like a if I have free time kind of thing. I've fallen out of practice a bit because I couldn't take orchestra my senior year because I had to take Calc BC instead because there was a schedule conflict and everything. But yeah, I still very much like just kind of messing around with the instrument. It sounds nice, you know.
Are you an improviser when it comes to music, or do you play pieces?
No, I'm definitely much more of like, that's also why I can like appreciate jazz is like, I don't know how people come up with that on the fly. Oh my gosh. Like, what do you mean you're not reading from music or you don't have this memorized or something? I'm definitely more of like, I pull up Muse Score and I try and find songs I like already. And see if they're scored for viola, which they very, very rarely are. But yeah, it's definitely more of like trying to find things to play.
So you don't only do like classical or like traditional things. You're kind of like trying out songs that you like.
If I can find it and if it's in my skill level, then yeah. I would say I'm definitely more of like an amateur still. I took some private lessons, but I also wasn't very super diligent about practicing. I think classical sounds really, really beautiful. I especially like, what is it? I got a piece assigned to me by my private instructor, like Elegy, and it's like so pretty and like sad sounding. I think it's by Glazunov is the composer. And yeah, it definitely... I also didn't used to really like classical music until I started playing viola, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so cool and fun, and yeah.
Wonderful. I'm going to definitely listen to Elegy. I think I need to listen to more classical music in general. I also, that just made me think, is a lot of people obviously study classical music. You said that you like study a little bit to electronic game music sometimes. Yeah. Do you see similarities between... I see a lot of, personally, similarities between classical and electronic music, actually, when it comes to game scores. I'm wondering if you share that sentiment.
Yes and no. So I actually don't really listen to classical as much because the classical music I like, it's like too, like... moving almost for me to be able to focus properly into, you know, because I feel like classical is meant to be performed on its own, you know, and like to be a whole big event. And so especially I really like I always say the name wrong, Tchaikovsky and everything, you know, and like those are such beautiful pieces that are like so big and bold and grand that it's like I get lost thinking about like visuals that go with like the music and stuff rather than like focusing in my work, versus like video game music to me, since it's like designed to be in the background of like other things, it's really easy to just kind of have that as like a base level, I guess, and like my brain operate on top of it, versus classical is more like it's operating at the same level that the rest of my brain is operating on. But I definitely see the similarities between them in like they're both trying to get you to carry through like a story, especially because a lot of like compositions are meant to tell a story. I went and saw the Butterfly Lovers performed at one point by a local symphony, and that was really, really cool. You know, classical music telling a story without having any associated like visuals or actors or anything, just the music. But yeah, I do find them kind of different in that way.
Yeah,
of, like,
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also, like, too moving to listen to is, that's so fair. I think that we've had a lot of guests on this show that take, like, intentional time to listen to music.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you are often listening to music in your day, or if it's something that, like, you put your headphones on and, like, you lock into listening.
It's definitely, I listen to it, like, throughout my day in any free time, walking to class, obviously, as I said before. And I definitely listen to music while I study, but it has to be, like, specific music, or music I've listened to so many times that, like, I know how it's gonna go, so I'm not, like, distracted by, like, oh my gosh, this song is so good. I have to be almost kind of bored by the music in order to effectively, like, study with it.
That makes sense, especially given that, like, when your parents showed you music and gave you this kind of music education, like, that was, like, a sit-down, let's listen to this song.
Yeah.
And that's so, like, that's so wonderful. I'm gonna do that to my kids.
No, I'm totally gonna force my kids to listen to what, like, have, like, a set list of songs I mean, my parents kind of did that. Or my dad kind of did that.
Did.
I'm also wondering, like, with, like, such a rich, like, musical background, and also, like, have you ever thought about, like, making your own music, or is that something that, like, you haven't gotten to yet?
I don't feel like I have the creative or technical sensibilities for it. I enjoy analyzing music more than I think I'd enjoy making it. I have thought about, though, as, like, what are some fun, silly hobbies I could pick up in college, being, like, a DJ or something like that, and, like, making my own mixes and things. Like, or remixes, that kind of thing. I'm like, I could probably do that. But that would probably be the extent of my, like, making music.
That's
endeavors,
a huge
I
extent.
think.
It's a lot of work. Like, I mean, we've had DJs come on and try and describe to us, like, how you, like, match two songs together.
Shout out Trackmaster
Scott. And it's complicated. It's not something that, I mean...
And I think you probably do have the sensibility.
You definitely do have it.
I think, like, half of, like, music sensibility is, like, critically thinking about the music. And it seems like you've done that. We are coming up on the hour. I just want to say thank you so much for responding to our flyer.
Yeah. It was cool to see. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a chance to do one of those flyer things, you know, like in the movies.
No, and I'm so glad it worked out.
I know.
Like, first successful flyer guest. I'm so excited for what's to come with that.
Can I quickly ask, like you took a chance on two strangers interviewing you from a flyer. Like, why did you do that?
It's college. I mean, you gotta try new things.
No, you have the right mindset going.
Also, like, you guys didn't get back to me right away or whatever because, like, it went to voicemail, and then I got texted about WHPK and everything, so then I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is just a small, silly little radio station. So it was very unintimidating for me. I was like, this is obviously college run, like, you know.
Awesome. I mean, that was the sense that our flyer was supposed to be.
Like Arial font,
two best friends. Oh, so glad you came on.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Of course. This has been Finders Keepers on WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM, the pride of the South Side. You can listen every single Wednesday at 11 a.m. CST. I've been Rhea.
I have been Leia.
And we've had
Madalena.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tune in again next week.